Aloha party people, you are listening to Inside the Desert Oasis Room, episode number 187. This episode is sponsored by the Tiki Bar T-Shirt Club, where their monthly t-shirt designs pay tribute to a Polynesian bar or restaurant from days long past. Each design is available for a limited time and will never be produced again. For the collectors out there, be sure to check out their subscription program, where they offer a discounted 3, 6, or 12-month plan, or you can always buy shirts one at a time. For more information and to check out this month's shirt, visit tikibartshirtclub.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by the Tiki Tea, a family-owned and operated tropical drink bar in Los Angeles, California. Come get their house specialty, the Raised Mistake, for only $6 on Wednesdays until 9 p.m. For more information, check out their website, tiki-ti.com. If you have a product, service, or event that you'd like to bring attention to, we can help. This podcast reaches thousands of listeners in over 100 countries every week. Imagine hearing your ad in this spot, just like you're hearing this one right now. Sponsor an episode and get the exposure you deserve. For more information, go to desertoasisroom.com and click on Services. Today we chat with David Badgerow. David is an animator, mixologist, and drooling bastard who dropped by the Desert Oasis Room to do a video swapcast with us for our respective YouTube channels. And while he was here, we decided to turn the mics on and record the session you are about to hear now. As always, I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did bringing it to you. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider helping us with your support during this challenging time. Stop by desertoasisroom.com to check out our merch or leave us a tip. We've got t-shirts and pendants available right now. And reservations are now open for the latest addition to the Desert Oasis Room line of tiki mugs, Tangaroa, modeled after a local carving I acquired on the island of Aitutaki in the Cook Islands over a decade ago. But act now, there are only a few left. Alrighty, grab a cocktail and join us inside the Desert Oasis Room. And give it up for my friend, David Badgerow.
Desert Oasis Room.
All right, we are on. Welcome to the podcast, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Adrian.
I appreciate you driving out on a rainy Saturday.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's really exciting to be in the Desert Oasis Room for the first time.
I'm excited that we get to do something together because I've known you for so long, and I feel like we don't hang out enough.
Yeah, that's true.
So we need to change that, and I'm glad that today is a step towards that direction. So thanks for coming.
Yeah. Up until now, we've sort of been unintentionally hanging out.
Right. We bump into each other here and there.
Yeah, everywhere from the Tiki Tea to Tiki Oasis, we've seen each other.
Yeah. I'm really jonesing for Tiki Tea right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything, not just Tiki Tea, but all the other bars as well.
Absolutely.
And it's been an adjustment. How are you going through this pandemic?
Well, as far as Tiki goes, it's funny. Like this has been an opportunity for someone like me, who I know you're already pretty far down this road, but for me, I've been building up my home Tiki bar scenario.
Oh, cool!
And really expanding. I sort of made the decision in March, April of 2020 to commit and be like, okay. Like now that all the bars are fairly inaccessible,
right?
Now would be the good time to dive in, go out, do a pretty serious purchase of everything that I need to make all the recipes I need.
Okay.
And so it's been fun to sort of go through that and discover a lot of, I've been going through the sort of the Beach Bum Berry catalog.
Yeah.
And drinking a lot of stuff there.
Are you a Drooling Bastard?
I am.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're going through the Beach Bum Berry catalog,
yeah,
are you doing something that's different than what was in the grog log? Are you going through like potions or some of the other books?
I am going through. Well, so for me personally, I've been going through his app, the Tiki app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Total Tiki.
Total Tiki, yeah.
Right.
It's been extremely helpful. And for the most part, I would say I've been trying to try drinks that I never had when I was on my grog log, journey.
Okay, so when you were doing the grog log, and I think I've asked you this before,
Sure.
what was a drink that you discovered that you liked and that you discovered that you didn't like?
Fabulous, yeah.
And what is a drink that you discovered that was not on the grog log, if you're also going through some of the other Beach Bum Berry stuff that you liked, that something maybe surprised you?
Yep. I have exact answers for all of those.
Okay, all right.
And I didn't even plan it. The thing is, and I think that you could probably relate to this, is that as you go through the rum journey, and I'll certainly admit that I'm certainly much younger in this journey than you are. You have a lot more experience in this in terms of...
Yes and no. I'm not a drooling bastard.
But still, like, you know the cocktails pretty well and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know what I like, I know what I don't like. I know the bars that I love, I know the bars that I'm okay with, and I know the bars that I'll probably never get a good drink in. Yeah.
So for me, when I did it's like 78 cocktails that you do for the Drooling Bastard Challenge, and I remember when I finished it, of those 78, my favorite was Pieces of 8. And that's a pretty straightforward drink when you look at the recipe. That's a equal parts of everything drink. There's passion fruit in there. There's lemon and lime. It's a white rum drink, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And the thing is I'll get to that in a second. I'll just simply say that was my favorite drink when I was doing the challenge. My least favorite drink was a toss-up between, and for anybody who's maybe listening that has done the challenge, the Tonga Hut likes to say that it's everyone's least favorite drink. Okay. Which is Beachcomber's Gold. Right. Beachcomber's Gold is, I think it's a dry vermouth. It's a lot of people like to describe that drink as drinking in an ashtray. And so it's a very, specific flavor. That's how I'll put it. And that was the same for me. Another one that I didn't expect, as far as what I didn't expect was some drinks that I thought I was going to love that it turns out I didn't love. Two of them. One of them was the Booloo. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I thought I was going to love that drink, and I wasn't a big fan. Most people finish on the Booloo. Oh, interesting. Wow. And it's because of the pineapple. Oh. So they save that till the end. Wow. Right, because that drink is served in a hollowed out pineapple. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they want to do this kind of grand thing for the photos and that's funny because ceremony. I specifically tailored mine. So while I was doing this, when I did it so quote unquote so long ago now, that blogs were still a thing that people really followed. And so I had a Tiki blog at the time, and I was running through the whole thing. Okay. And I had tailored the whole list. I read your blog. Yeah. I remember your blog. I called it the Grog Blog. Right. When I first started it, I took a look at the whole list and I charted out. I was like, every 10 drinks is going to be a milestone drink that's like a classic. Gotcha. And then the final 10, I made all super classics. And then I specifically made my final drink, the Scorpion Bowl, for the photo. So that it would be served in a bowl. Yeah. And then I would have a whole group of friends there. And I wish I was there. Well, I don't know if they still do it, but back then at least they did a thing where they asked you, they said, they were like, so the end of your list is coming. Do you know what day it's going to be? And then if you do you want it to be an event? Yeah. And they would advertise it, and they would say, hey, like Dave Badgerow's finishing his grog log. We're going to call, they would say, calling all bastards. Yeah. So all the former bastards would come. And Tiki Tom was there, and he would take a photo where Tonga Tom, sorry. Yeah. Tonga Tom would be there. Yeah. And he would be there, and then he would take the photo where you're in the center and all the bastards. Exactly. Yeah. It was great. And so that's what I did. And that was the whole reason, so that I wanted it to be that in the photo I was holding the bowl. Yeah. And then the other one was La Florida, where I was like, this one doesn't really sit. Is it like a daiquiri? It is. Okay. Actually, yeah. Okay. So
Just from the name, I guess that. So I'm not a bastard. And the reason why is I'm very much a creature of habit. When I find something that I like, I'll order it again and again and again.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm not open-minded to try new things, because I am, and I would even challenge people that are going to call me out on that to go with me and eat some of the things that I'll eat that they won't even try.
Yeah.
You know, because I am open-minded enough to try new things. But when you look at the price of a cocktail, to me, it's like, that's an expensive drink. That's a lot of money to spend on something that is a maybe. You know, so if I find something that I like, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to spend like $50, $60 on a night out drinking or more, then I better like everything that I drink, because if I do that every week, that's like a car payment.
It's, you know what, you're absolutely right. Like that is something that a lot of the bastards sort of have to commit to going into it. It was something that I knew where I was,
and I don't need to finish the list. Like that's not important to me, you know. So what's important to me is that I get what I feel like I got value for my money. And from what I understand, 2/3 of those drinks are really not that great.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So and that's why I didn't go down that route.
Yeah.
You know,
the thing, I have such a distinct memory of being just over the hump on that list, and a fellow like cocktail lover friend of mine who knew, that I was going down that list, reached out to me, and he was just like, he's like, "Oh, are you missing all the drinks that you usually drink right now?" I'm like, "Oh, so much." He's like, "Oh, yeah." And I looked forward to it, especially towards the end. Well, towards the end I was getting excited, but I was like, once the light at the end of the tunnel was in sight. But I was like, I have so many drinks, specifically on the Tonga menu, that I love, that I just couldn't do.
You can't do because when you're there, you're just trying to work that list.
And because they put it on a time limit and everything, it was just like, all right, well, and that was a whole schedule I had to work out ahead of time. Like, I have to visit it every week. I have to drink this many drinks per week to hit the deadline and everything.
Have you ever done any other lists anywhere else?
Not yet.
No.
We were talking about this earlier. I lived in Canada for about 3.5 years, and the Shameful Tiki Room in Vancouver has a great rum list that at the time I wasn't into sipping rum so much, but in retrospect, it's one of those things that's, had I known I would have been there that long, I would have definitely gone down that road. They have a great, rums of the world. They do it much like Ventiki does the same thing, where they give you a passport. And then you go around the world.
Every region.
Exactly. Like the West Indies and Jamaica and Africa and everything.
Yeah, I've never finished any rum list before. As I mentioned, that's not really interested in that. But I mean, like, to each their own, right? I mean, even at the Tiki Tea, I've never had every drink on the menu at the Tiki Tea, and I've been going there since 1995, 1996.
You've been going there so long that that's back when the Wheel of Indecision still worked.
Right. Since before that existed.
Oh my God.
Since before the Wheel of Indecision existed.
Wow.
Since before, before a lot of things existed. Before the Bull existed. Before, and here's the thing, like, even at the Tiki Tea, which is, everybody knows that's my favorite bar, I've probably only drank about a dozen drinks there. And they've got 96 drinks on their menu. Yeah. And again, I'm the kind of person that I'm a creature of habit. When I go in, I'm probably only going to have 2 drinks, maybe 3. I don't have to go outside of that because I already know of the dozen that I've had. Maybe I've had more than a dozen, not much, but maybe I've had more than a dozen. But of all of those, I can pick 3. I can say, like, okay, these are the 3 I'm going to have today. And so I just don't have to try everything on the menu, and that shocks a lot of people. I guess it is what it is, but
it's funny because when I used to live in Sherman Oaks once upon a time, and so Tonga Hut was super close
really close,
and that I was sort of the same way, but forgive me if this is like a micro tangent, but for me it was almost like, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but the Tonga Hut likes to do a thing where they have, per their bartenders, they have specific menus per bartender.
Right.
And so it's like, if you're here when Sid is here, Sid has his own menu. And so that was the thing that I used to do when I used to go there. Well, I still go there, but it's been closed for a little while.
Yeah, it's been closed for God. It's been
we're coming up on a year.
Coming up on a year.
But yeah, like Sid is probably my favorite bartender there, and he makes my favorite cocktails. And so that was the thing. I would try to time it if I could to be there when he was there to just get his cocktails. But if he wasn't there, just like you said, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going for this house cocktail at Tiki T, or at Tonga Hut.
Tonga Hut, yeah.
Yeah, they have the secret recipe Blue Hawaiian there. That's probably my favorite house drink. Okay. And
what makes it the secret recipe Blue Hawaiian?
They make a Blue Hawaiian that, well, I guess the simplest way I can say it is that they construct it in a way that no other Blue Hawaiian is made. They use very, very specific ingredients.
Do you know who?
It was Marie that made that drink.
Okay.
Yeah, Marie King constructed it. I happen to have the recipe.
Oh, you do? How did you get it?
I've been sworn to secrecy by Marie King.
Oh, I'm not going to ask you for it because I respect that.
Yeah.
So people have reached out to me about certain recipes that are made at the Tiki Tea.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm the same way. Yep. So I have recipes that I won't share with people out of respect for the secrecy of the recipe.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, I have to.
That's the whole point, right? I mean,
people must be asking you about the raised mistake all the time. Yeah,
that's the one that they ask. But the thing is that that's the tradition of Tiki. The tradition of Tiki cocktails is that there's secrecy, right? And not everybody gets to know. Yeah. And seriously, though, let's just say you knew the recipe to, I'm going to throw the raised mistake out there.
Sure.
Let's say you knew the recipe to the raised mistake.
Yep.
Would you enjoy it more in your home, or would you enjoy it more at the Tiki Tea?
Absolutely.
Because that's part of the experience of the drink, right? To me, it's like, okay, you can only get this drink here, and the whole point of having this drink is you're having it like it's the story, it's the history, it's the whole, it's everything behind the drink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so so you can make it in your kitchen, you know. Yeah. But would you rather drink it in your kitchen? It loses its magic. Yep. You know.
Well,
so
that leads me into something that, if you don't mind me jumping,
not at all,
sort of topics here. You know, the world of all the different famous tiki bars around the world that there are. And for example, to jump on that topic. In Hawaii, for example, like the quintessential cocktail that I always think about in terms of like, oh, well, I can make this at home, but it has a severely different meaning in person, is the Royal Hawaiian Mai Tai. And I think that's sort of a touchstone example of like, it's a recipe that's pretty widely known, but when I'm sitting at the actual Royal Hawaiian Mai Tai bar at the Royal Hawaiian hotel,
it's magical.
It's magical. Yes.
It's magical. Yeah.
Yeah. And the same goes for, I mean, this is very specific, but like when you go to where the Singapore Sling was created, right? Yeah. And that bar still is still open today, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
And but it's one of the things I get really excited about is going to a bar where I'm like, oh my God, this is where the cocktail was actually made. Yeah. You know.
Well, as an example, we tried to make a Tiki Tea Blood and Sand.
Sure.
I guess we missed the passion fruit. But we had the bull. We had the tequila float. Yeah. We yelled the toro. Yep. But it's not the Tiki Tea. It's not the same.
Not quite the same.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that is part of the drink. That is part of the spirit, the experience, and the magic. Yeah. Right.
The Blue Hawaiian at the Tonga Hut, for example, that just like the passion you just that was how I got the recipe. Actually, I happened to choose a night where Marie was. Sometimes she sort of like guest bartends at her own bar.
Right.
And it was this is before I moved away from USA for a while, and I told her, I said, hey, I'm a bastard and I've been coming here a long time. I love your Blue Hawaiian. I've been trying to replicate it at home for years. And I'm like, could you give me a hint?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I can't just give you the recipe.
Yeah.
But she goes, I'll make you a deal. If you can guess within a percentage of like the accuracy, I'll tell you what actually is in the drink. And so that was the thing. And I, like I said, I won't give away the recipe here, but it was one of those things where I threw out all these things. And I'll just say that one of the things that I thought she was using, for example, was I thought she was using like coconut cream.
Right.
And I was like, well, it's coconut cream plus this. And she's like, nope. She's like, that's where you're wrong. That's one of the things that most people get wrong about the drink.
Because there's coconut cream in every Blue Hawaiian.
Yeah.
So that's a safe guess.
Yeah.
So I love that that's not it.
Yeah, it's not it.
I love that.
Yeah. There's a fusion going on there that she's doing. And it was all those things where I would like peek and look, okay, you're putting this and that and the other in it, but But anyway, yeah. So it's and just like you said, now that I know the real recipe, I've made only in 2020 did I finally make it at home.
Yeah.
And it was fun just because Tonga was closed.
And you nailed it.
To be like, wow, it looks and smells like it, and it tastes like it. That's great.
You're like, this is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
But like you said,
can you make one here?
I maybe if we have the right stuff. Yeah, maybe we could do it. Yeah.
So I want to try one.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's one of those things where I'm like, wow, having this just makes me miss Tonga all the more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So this is what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like you say, like you're not like a big rum connoisseur and whatnot.
I'm not.
However, given your how deep you are into the tiki culture and whatnot, I have to imagine that you've been to an incredible number of tiki bars around the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of which have closed
yes.
in the past 2 decades.
Yep. You probably don't have this written down, but if you had to ballpark it, do you know how many unique ones you've been to?
Tiki bars?
Yeah.
Ooh, I've never written that down.
Are you going in triple digits?
If I had to guess,
yeah, maybe 80.
I don't know, honestly. So I've been to a lot of tiki bars that a lot of my favorite ones have closed or are in trouble.
Yeah,
they're in danger of closing because of COVID.
Absolutely,
and I miss a lot of them.
Certainly, yeah.
Some of them have closed within the time I could have gone and seen them, but I didn't get a chance to.
The Mai Kai is now on that list for me. That's.
I'm going to tell you, man. Like if we lose,
I don't mean to derail this, but sorry.
No, not at all. If we lose the Mai Kai, that's going to be devastating.
Yeah, it's one of the
and the reason being is it's the last of the grand Polynesian palaces from the original.
It's like when the big tiki explosion happened in the mid-century, like it's from that world, right?
Yes. So it was opened in 1956.
Yeah.
So the Mai Kai is unbelievable. So the thing about businesses today, they just don't spend the money that they used to, right? Mm-hmm. You look at a place like the Mai Kai that's so elaborate, so detailed, lots of acreage. This is a giant property with multiple rooms. Attention to detail, and not just the decor, but also in the food and the drinks and the entertainment.
Yeah.
They just don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And the reason why people don't do that anymore is because there's risk associated with investing that kind of money into a place that you don't know if it's going to succeed.
Yep.
So they minimize their risk by going in and investing as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
And the Mai Kai is the only thing that's left from that era. You had the Kahiki, which was like that. Mm-hmm. You had restaurants like Don the Beachcomber, which were not as grand in scale, but as detailed in their presentation. Yeah. Right?
I would say the Bahuka was
the
one of those.
Bahuka was another one, which we used to go there almost every Friday. I used to take my kids there almost every Friday for decades.
You see the big piranha?
It was a Paku. It was,
yeah.
Rufus, you're thinking of Rufus.
Rufus.
Yeah, which is close to the Paku and the Piranha are like cousins, right? Uh-huh. And let's put it this way. When I was in high school, we used to go to the Bahuka because a friend of mine used to be a waiter there. And we would go when he was working so that we could drink. Because since he was a waiter there, he would just let us drink the cocktails. We'd order the cocktails and then he'd serve the cocktails, right? And back then it wasn't the nautical paradise that it was when it closed. The walls had signatures and writing all over it because that was a thing. And in later years, after the Book of Tiki, if you went in there, you could still see names scratched into the booths and stuff that were painted over. Those are holdovers from before.
Yeah.
And the way that people saw it after the Book of Tiki, when it was chock full of stuff, that was actually considered very bare compared to the way it was when I was in high school.
Man.
You couldn't see the ceiling.
Yeah.
It was covered. You know, people invested into themed experiences like that because it was more than just the food and the drink. It was about the experience, right? And you had so many big fish in there because those fish grew up in that bar. Mm-hmm. And people just don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
They just don't build spots like that anymore.
You probably know the name of the one that was in Ohio. That was like a...
The Kahiki.
That's his Kahiki.
Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
So that's another one that was a grand Polynesian palace.
Huge.
Right?
Yeah.
And they closed down, I think it was 1999 or 2000, somewhere around there. It was at the turn of the century.
Yeah.
They were even on the National Historic Register.
Yeah.
And they still closed down. So that doesn't even guarantee that they're going to be around. Yeah. The property was just worth too much money. Walgreens bought it, tore it down. And
that's right.
Yeah, built a drugstore there. It's a shame because, like, you know, you have these historic spots that they're going away one by one. And they're never coming back. I mean, you had a place like that said that they were going to reopen, right? The Maikai said that they were going to reopen. Don the Beachcomber in Huntington Beach said they were going to reopen. We know how that just doesn't work out. And even if they did reopen, they're not going to invest the same kind of money into the structure that they left, you know?
Yeah, that's what killed... I thought of it only because that was on my list of, like, classic tiki temples I need to visit before they close.
Yeah, the Maikai is just... The Maikai is worth flying to just by itself. Just for itself.
Yeah.
You don't have to go there for Hukilau. You don't have to go there because you're going on a cruise and you're cruising out of Fort Lauderdale. It is worth buying a plane ticket and going out to for the weekend.
Absolutely. And
then flying back home. It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be a shame if we lost it, but I think that there's an effort to keep it around.
Yeah.
They're looking for investors and they're looking for partners that will get them to where they need to be. I mean, there's a hole in the roof the size of a truck.
Yep.
There's repairs, structural repairs because of that need to be addressed. And
that's what started this whole thing, right?
That's what started this whole thing. But what worries me is the Maikai has always been the kind of place that needed repairs that they couldn't afford. It's been like that for decades. And so you have something like this that happens, and this is like a major repair, and it happens during a period of COVID when they're not even open for business.
A very heavy straw to break the
back. That's what worries me, but we're going to cross our fingers and hope for the best. Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about that very now shallow pool of remaining super bars.
Right.
In that list, you have places now like the Kon-Tiki in Tucson. Yeah.
Yeah. Are they in danger?
I don't think so. I think that they're hanging on.
So, the Kon-Tiki in Tucson, which is a Mailanguanco shrine, they claim to have the most Mailanguanco tikis in any place, anywhere in the world.
Okay.
I might buy it.
Oh, wow.
I think Don the Beachcomber, with formerly Sam Seafood in Huntington Beach, had maybe as many.
Okay.
I don't know. They look very much the same. As a matter of fact, the band 311 had a video, and people were debating whether that was at Sam's Seafood or at the Kon-Tiki.
Wow, which video is it? I love 311.
Oh, God, I don't remember the song.
I'll have to look this up.
We're going to find out, and
we'll post it in the show notes.
We'll put a link below. But when you look at that, you're going to look at that and say, oh, maybe that was Don the Beachcomber. I think it was determined to be at Kon-Tiki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see that place go too.
Yeah.
So,
to say that they're not in danger is a relative term right now, because I think every bar is in danger.
I think every bar is in danger.
But I haven't seen it. Of course, you're probably doing the same thing, but like on a bi-weekly basis, I check up on my favorite tiki bars to be like, oh, please don't close.
Right. I do that too. And to be quite honest with you, and I don't want to sound negative, but a lot of them have hung on longer than I expected.
Yeah.
We're coming up on a year.
Yeah.
So a year of bars not being open,
Yep.
I don't think anybody has reserves to last a year.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever thought that they'd have to.
Yeah.
So the fact that some of them are still hanging on is a miracle, right?
Certainly.
So, and I hope they can hang on just a little bit longer because, with the vaccine coming, maybe things are going to start turning around.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see that we end up losing more.
And we even have on the other end of that spectrum, neo-tiki bars that some of them have been in the very unfortunate, unintentional circumstance of opening right before lockdowns.
Did you know I was going to open a bar last year?
Yeah. So right before we get into that, because I really want to talk about that.
All right.
I would happen to say, and every time I ask you about tiki, you always surprise me with how much more you know than I do, which I shouldn't be surprised by that. Is the bar that opened, I think it was 2 months before March. So they opened in January 2020, and it was Bahuka. No. It was Bamboo Club, Long Beach. That's one that opened up super recently, and I think it's fabulous. I think they've done a really, really good job.
They did a great job in that bar. So that bar was on Bar Rescue before they got it. Bar Rescue is like, it was John Taffer is the host.
Okay.
It's one of these where like your bar's failing and it's a reality show. They bring this bar expert to come in and turn it around for you. And it was on that show, and it obviously didn't make it through.
It didn't make it.
I mean, like, it was on the show, and then they still ended up they still ended up selling it. And the guys who bought it, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
This is what I heard. They are owners of 2 other bars, and they partnered to get this particular location because both of them wanted it. Okay. So they just ended up partnering to both get it, and they opened up Bamboo Club. So I could be wrong about that. That's what I believe is...
That sounds right to me.
Yeah. So they opened a Bamboo Club, and cocktails are really good there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even better than I expected. I've been there a couple times now. They, during, this episode will be dated by this reference now, but if anybody's listening months from now. But,
this will be out like next week.
So in LA County, during that period where bars were sort of like half open.
Yeah.
They were one of the few neo-tiki bars that took it upon themselves to create a specific COVID experience.
Okay.
It was amazing to me. What they did was they took their parking lot and they fully transformed it into an outdoor bar.
Yeah.
Complete with the experience that a lot of neo-tiki bars have now, where you order a certain cocktail and the place transforms. So they had set up all these things like a little volcano and lights and stuff. So
I saw that against the wall, but I never saw it actually
explode.
Operate.
Yeah. It's super cool. So was
that if you ordered a specific drink?
You know what? Now that I think about it, I think it was just a timing thing where it's like every 20 minutes the volcano lights.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the thing is like, but yeah, like I went there and was shocked at how super high quality the cocktails were, in my opinion. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So the cocktails are great, and I've had them on the podcast before. So if they're listening to this, I would like to tell them that I love their patio out in the parking lot. They have that giant tent out there. And I hope they continue to do that going forward. Yeah. Because what I envision is live music out there and another bar, possibly, right? And then have it really be more tikied up because it's just kind of a generic tent that they're doing for COVID.
Sure.
I don't know how much of that is realistic, though, because I believe there's like residences behind it.
Yeah.
So there might be like a zoning issue.
And the inside of the bar is beautiful.
Yeah, it's really great. So, that's a fun bar. And I love that we got that bar, that they're still hanging around. Yeah. Right? So far, it is a bummer that the timing was kind of bad.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a miracle they survived, like throughout that whole thing.
Well, like they were doing pretty good, but they were doing their marketplace and they were busy, so they were doing pretty good throughout that. And I hope they can hang around.
Yeah.
But so last year,
Yes.
I was
Tell me about your bar.
So
yeah.
I didn't know that you knew, but I had been researching for quite a while. I wrote a business plan, maybe in 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Found investors and got some partners. We had opened our LLC.
Yep.
We eventually obtained our liquor license.
Wow. That's no small feat in itself.
Right. Well, we used a broker, so and that was a whole other thing. But there's a way you can get one that's not as difficult as you think.
Okay.
But we got one, and we looked in 4 counties at different properties, and it's kind of tough because when you find a spot that you like, you might say, "Hey, this would make a great bar," and then the landlord says, "Oh, well, we don't want a bar in this spot." But if you get past that because the landlord's okay, then the city might say, "Oh, we don't want a bar in this spot."
Oh no!
So it's not as easy as you think that you say, like, "Oh, this building is perfect. We should open a bar here." There's a lot of people say that and think it's as simple as that, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
So we finally found a spot on the corner of, I want to say it was Orangethorpe and Harbor.
In which city was
In
this?
city of Fullerton.
Okay. Yeah.
Directly across the street from the Slide Bar.
Okay.
This was after looking at probably a dozen different spots. We had the business license, we had the LLC, we had the liquor license, and then we signed a lease. So we actually had a lease.
Wow.
Already had a contractor. We were ready to go.
Yeah, super close.
We signed the lease, and maybe about 10 days later, they locked down everything for COVID. And so we kind of sat on it thinking like, okay, well, let's wait and see what happens. And after about 2 months, we thought, well, if we end up building this spot, we might not even be able to open, because we were looking at, we signed the lease in March, and we thought if we take 3 or 4 months for a build out and we end up opening in July, who knows if restrictions have been lifted. And we thought even October, we thought like, what about 6 months from now?
Yeah.
Even then, restrictions were going to be lifted. So we decided to pull out of the project.
Yeah.
And we ended up having to, and so I'm not mentioning any names, but we ended up having to go to court to get all our money back. So it was a big headache. But, it was something that I was excited about because we had this whole concept, and, we got as close to signing a lease. Yeah. We had the liquor license, we had the LLC, we had the concept, we had the space. We were ready to start, right? Yeah. And COVID happened. But looking back, I think it was a blessing in disguise because in doing the research, right, I had become like this. When I was writing this business plan, I was doing research on every city and surrounding city of a potential spot for these bars.
Sure.
And I learned the demographics of every spot, right? And so I knew what the average income was of the surrounding cities, the average age of the people that were actually going out and enjoying like entertainment, the disposable amount of money that they would be spending in these places. Wow. And so I knew all this stuff it was like 2 years in the making. Yeah. Right. And now looking back, like even knowing all that information, you're still going to have like a 3-year ROI. Yep. So you put on all your money, you build this spot, and you're not in the black until like after the 3rd year. Absolutely. Like the first 3 years, you're in the red. Yeah. That's on a strong economy. Yeah. You open a bar now. Right? What's your ROI now? Right? You have people that are, bars that exist can't stay awake, stay alive. Yeah, let alone a new bar that's trying to make their way into this particular genre. Yeah, right? build a new clientele, everything. Right, you can't build a new clientele. Like, it's going to be impossible. Yeah. So what's the ROI now? 5 years? 6 years? 7 years? Yeah. I can't wait that long to get a return on my money. Yeah. So we decided that right now the timing wasn't right, and we pulled the plug on it, which was a little bit of a bummer because I was looking forward to doing that.
Do you, you don't have to say it, but if you don't want to, but do you still have plans on doing it on the other side of this?
No. Because, well, number one, I don't think my partners are going to be as open about it.
Okay.
And number two, I don't know if I feel comfortable enough to take the risk.
Yeah.
Because like I said, in a strong economy, you're looking at 3 years before you
Sure.
start making money. I don't know when the economy will be strong enough to try that again.
Yeah.
Is it going to be this summer?
Yeah.
Is it going to be next year? We don't know, right? So if it's next year, and then it's 3 years, that's 4 years from now.
Yeah.
You know? But I think it's going to be longer than that.
A lot of people have been talking about how as we come out of COVID, like, you know, no one can really know the future of how the future is going to work out on the other side of the, you know, the vaccines and everything.
Right.
But people have been saying like, oh, in the best case scenario, it's almost going to be like another version of the Roaring '20s where everybody is just like so excited to go out again that it's going to be just like a party nonstop.
Right.
So there's that.
Right.
It's like, it's going to be, you know, bars are going to be...
I thought about that. Like, what's your thought on that? If things start opening up again, are you just going to start going out?
Right. I think that a lot of people are going to be hesitant, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those people, right? So I want to make sure I'm fully vaccinated first, and I'm still going to be hesitant.
Yeah.
Even if I'm fully vaccinated, I'm probably still going to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'm probably not going to feel comfortable about it.
Absolutely.
And I can't be the only one who feels that way.
Yeah.
And so how long is it going to take for me?
Yeah. Especially in like, you know, in California, I think that people in California I would say by and large, are more careful than not careful.
Sure.
And so I think that in this state, it's going to be one of those ones where people are more anxious than other states. For sure.
You know, like I look back, and I was talking about this with my son. I look back at the way that we used to live pre-COVID.
Sure.
And I wonder if it'll ever be like that again.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. And my son gave me this example. So this is not coming from me. This is coming from him. He said, you remember, Dad, the nights that you'd go to the bowling alley with your friends and you'd order hot wings and nachos and you'd put your fingers into a bowling ball that you pulled off the rack that all these other people like put their sweaty fingers in.
Yeah.
You threw the ball on the lane, and then you turned around and you picked up the nachos with the same fingers, and you picked up the hot wings with the same fingers. And I thought, that sounds utterly disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, and the buffets.
Yeah.
Right? The same people who like, I remember one time being at a buffet and watching these kids play with the chocolate fountain. And they would dip stuff in the chocolate fountain. Yeah. They would stick their fingers underneath the fountain, underneath the chocolate falling, lick their fingers, and then stick it back in.
Oh no!
It's like, and it's like
quickly becoming a relic.
Oh my God! Like there's so much of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, it's interesting to think about like where we're going to be like a year or two from now with all this. We were just saying how like we're living in now the current and soon to be quote unquote post-COVID world, which is it may be a situation where now year to year we're getting vaccinated for COVID.
Right.
Just like flu.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because there are new strains all the time.
Yeah. Every 6 months, get the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's sort of something to be introduced now. And we were saying about how like a lot of Asian cultures, like especially like you look at Japan and China, and how they have been wearing masks for years,
all the time,
even pre-COVID.
Right.
Just like, oh, you're sick. Like, why would you go out in public and wear a mask? You know, like not have a mask on your face.
I almost see myself doing that anyway, because why not? I mean, so what if people laugh at me? They laugh at me for other stuff, you know. Like, I'll wear the mask, you know. If you want to make fun of me, then like, hey, I'd rather you make fun of me and I go home not being sick.
Sure. And
or not making you sick.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that, I think. But I don't know. It's a new world that we live in. Yeah. You know. So
it's a developing story, as they say.
It's a developing story. Yeah. Yeah.
That's too bad because I would have loved to have gone to a bar and been like, oh my God, this is Adrian's bar.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I would have loved to do that too. I would have loved to have my own bar, but you know, it's not in the cards. I guess it was not meant to be. And in retrospect, looking back, I think I dodged a bullet because if we opened the bar anyway, I think that we'd be so red right now with our finances that I would be in a situation that I'd prefer not to have been in. I mean, like right now, I don't have a bar, but I'm also not on the hook with a lease, and I'm not in the red with my finances.
Right.
So I think it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
But who knows what the future holds, I mean, truth be told, I wasn't going to be behind the bar anyway because I'm not a bartender. So we had a guy that was going to be our bar manager that he ran another bar in downtown LA that made really great craft cocktails.
Sure.
And he was going to create our bar program.
Wow.
And I mean, we had like...
I want to know what it is, but...
I'll tell you after this.
Offline,
I don't want to say his name out of respect for... I don't have his permission to say his name. Yeah. And I don't want to out him, but... so... And I don't want to say the bar that he worked at either, but he ran a really great bar that ended up going under because of COVID.
Oh, no.
Which is a bummer. And it was a really unique concept, and they had really great cocktails there in downtown LA.
How long were they around?
Oh, for a few years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
You may have even drank there.
Yeah, I probably went there.
You may have even drank there.
Sure.
It was one of my favorite bars.
Was it... I shouldn't ask any more questions.
I'll tell you after we record. And what's going to happen are people are going to start texting me, and they're going to start like DMing me, and in the comments below, they're going to start, hey, what was that bar? So
sure.
But who knows what's going to happen after this whole thing?
Yeah.
We'll see. We're in uncharted territory.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Yeah, there's a, like, no, I'm going to blank on the name because I'm trying to remember it. So I had a list of bars to visit in LA ever since coming back to LA. And like we talked about before the podcast, there was Tiki Tony's, which has been around forever. Tony's, I should say.
Tony's?
Yeah, just straight up Tony's.
North Hollywood?
Tony's in Redondo, which is
Tony's. Tony's in Redondo. Yeah.
Century, yeah. And I had a few like neo tiki bars that I was already a fan of. But there is one downtown that was on like a rooftop or something that I had been.
Yeah, there's a couple down there. Yeah.
And that particular bar is part of a nationwide franchise.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of it though.
The name escapes me. I've been there a couple times.
I was hoping you would know it.
Yeah.
That was on my list. I haven't been there yet. But that was like a self-proclaimed, like, we are a new, like, but there's one like that's in South Florida and whatnot. So, I have to look it up.
I'm going to text somebody right now.
Oh man.
He's going to know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have a to-do list.
A to-do list. Okay.
It's a tiki to-do list that I can look at right now. That I wanted to really try. So, but
what's on your to-do list?
Well, let's see. Here we go. Oh, yeah, that's a whole conversation in itself. My goodness, I have. At the beginning of this particular podcast episode, we talked about. That's sort of what I was hinting at. It's like, I was like, oh, you've been to so many,
Okay.
And the thing is that somebody of your caliber in the tiki world. I would imagine.
I'm flattered that you're using these words.
Okay. Well, but it's true.
Thank you.
To be fair,
I'm humbled.
We are sitting inside of an absolutely A++ level custom tiki bar that you've built.
I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
So with that in mind, it's like someone like you probably don't keep track.
Okay.
But someone like me, I do keep track. Okay. Just for fun.
Okay.
And so I know exactly.
Someone like you is kind of making me feel uncomfortable, but okay. All right.
Well, the thing, because I'm a huge tiki enthusiast, but I actually keep track of how many unique tiki bars I've been to in the world. And so I have the real number that I can I've been this many,
Okay.
But I'm like, oh, well, Adrian's probably been like 80 of these. He doesn't even
I've
realize.
never thought about it, honestly.
So with that, I have I'm looking at the document right now.
Okay. So let's hear it.
And the funny thing is, and this is, I shouldn't say these things on this podcast, but, and the whole reason I started this document is because somebody once asked me, that knows that I'm a tiki nerd.
Yeah.
They were like, what's your favorite? What's your favorite? That's it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite tiki bar? And I was like, oh, that's a tough question to answer. And when I said that, I'm like, well, I would have to narrow it down to a top 10.
Okay. So let me interrupt you real quick.
Sure.
Someone has asked me what my favorite tiki bar in the world is.
Yeah.
And when I gave that answer, they said, oh, so you think that's the best tiki bar? And I said, no. That's my favorite tiki bar.
Yeah.
My favorite and the best are two different things.
Yeah.
And they didn't understand that.
Uh-huh.
Because the best doesn't have to be, like my favorite, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please
My
go.
favorite is the Tiki Tea.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's the Tiki Tea is a lot of things. Number one, it's a direct lineage to Don the Beachcomber.
Absolutely.
Through Ray Buin.
Yeah.
And we're doing that through Mike Jr., Mike Sr.,
Yep.
who was their, Ray Buin was their
Absolutely,
father and grandfather, right?
Yep.
Who was one of the original 4 Filipinos of Don the Beachcomber. So there's the lineage. There's also the fact that when I buy a cocktail from them, I'm not helping a CEO pay for his mansion.
Yes.
I'm not helping some corporation help them with their stock exchange or whatever. I'm helping somebody pay for their kid's private school, or I'm helping somebody put food on the table and directly with that, because me buying this cocktail is putting money into their particular business, right? It's not funding some big pyramid. You know what I mean? And so it's the history, it's the legacy, it's the family component, and it's the fact that it's old Hollywood, right? It's everything, right? That's what makes it my favorite. Do I think they make the best drinks? No. Actually, there's so many other bars that I think make better drinks. And I apologize for Tiki Tea if their feelings are hurt by that.
Sure.
I don't mean to hurt their feelings by that, and I mean any kind of disrespect at all by that. They do what they do to make the most money possible. That's the rule of business, and that's okay, right? Now, I think the best experience is probably the Mai Kai, right?
Awesome, yeah.
It's not my favorite bar. The Molokai bar is not my favorite bar.
Sure, yeah.
Because they don't know me the way that the guys at Tiki Tea know me.
Absolutely.
And why would they? I'm not in there every week the way that I am at the Tiki Tea. And I've gone to be pretty close with the family at the Tiki Tea.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're kind of a pseudo family to me too, right? So if I see them, they treat me as such, right? They don't do that to me at the Mai Kai. But the Mai Kai has its own legacy, and the Mai Kai has, in my opinion, they have better cocktails.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
But so they're not my favorite though, right? So they're those are different things.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No.
So I'll get back to what you're saying.
Oh, I was just looking at my list. Well, and it's, I guess the best way to piggyback off what you just said was when I was first asked that question.
Okay.
I wasn't sure how to answer it, and then
while you were saying this, I'm going to make us a drink.
Sure. Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the person who originally asked me that question still, in my opinion, has the best follow-up answer, which was, so I said, wow, that's a hard question to answer. And then they said, well, what is the tiki bar that while you're standing outside of it, right before you walk in...
Do you want some more of this blood?
No.
I'm gonna dump
sure.
it. All right. There's a whole drink in there.
I'm sure, yeah.
All right.
They said, what is the bar that while you're standing outside, about to go in, is the most excited that you are? And I was like, wow, that's a great
question.
Way.
That is a great question.
Yeah. And when they said that, ever since then, they've reframed the way that I thought about tiki bars, because I'm like, yeah, that's true.
What is the most you're excited to enter?
In the 10 seconds before I walk through the doors, then I'm just like, I can't believe I'm here.
I'm excited. Yeah.
And so that now I think of that when I look at my what used to be top 10. I had to expand it to a top 20.
Okay.
just to
So this is the order in which you're excited.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But
all right. I want to hear this.
I'm going to be crucified if I say them all. But let me. I'm just looking at this list just to find the one that's downtown that I was trying to think of. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's probably might not be on this list. That's going to kill me. Come on. Is it in
So
here?
you're talking about downtown. You're talking about locally.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. What is it? Oh, no. Where is it? It should be in the LA list. Oh, no. I'm going to give my... It's not Broken... No, it's not Broken Shaker. There's another one, right? Is it Broken Shaker?
Broken Shaker's the one on the rooftop.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's probably Broken Shaker. I think Broken Shaker has
You're most
multiple
excited
locations.
about that bar?
No. That's not my top.
Okay.
I was just bringing that up as the one that I was like...
Because no offense to the guys at Broken Shaker, but it just doesn't excite me.
Yeah, no. And to be fair, again, I haven't even been there yet, and I've already apologized.
Right.
It was on my list purely as one that I haven't been to yet.
Okay.
That people have told me to go check out.
That you gotta go.
Yeah. And so I've yet to go. And that's right. The reason I thought of it in the first place was when we were talking about bars that are trying to survive through COVID.
Okay.
And it was like, there's certain bars that are even new bars that have multiple locations that it's like, are they even going to make it until the moment that I can actually walk in?
Okay.
So, if I went through my list, it's this is one of those lists that I'm always like, I should update it like weekly.
Right.
But just to go through this list, it's probably going to spawn a ton of different conversations. So maybe I'll just go through it real quick,
all right,
and then you can pick some of those and be like, that one, But if I'm going from bottom to top, and the thing is that the one that sits at number 1 right now, this is one of those ones that you were just talking about, where I was like, well, the reason that I enjoy that bar is specifically because it has the mix of, I'm just like you, I'm sure. I'm really into the history of tiki culture.
History, yeah.
And so when I think of bars that I'm like, wow, well, this one has made such a contribution to the history.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the cocktails might not be as good as other places, but it's the net effect. And so with all that in mind, so here I go.
All right.
Everybody who's listening can come and kill me. So this is a 20, so I'm going to run it through. Number 20, Mother of Pearl, New York City.
Oh, never been
that
there.
one. Oh, it's super good.
Okay.
And again, we could talk about these in specific after. I'll just run through them real quick here. Then actually 19 is Tonga Hut, North Hollywood.
Okay.
Next one is Kon-Tiki, Tucson. Uh-oh.
Here we go. Okay, I'm listening.
18, Kon-Tiki, Tucson. 17.
Kon-Tiki Tucson's 18.
Yeah. Oh, God, I'm so nervous now. I'm so scared to say this to you.
Okay.
Let alone everyone else. Oh, my God, you're going to kill me.
It's okay.
Okay, so.
17 is Tiki T.
No, you'll be happy with where Tiki T is, maybe.
Okay.
Depending on how you feel about Tiki T. I know you love that place. So Kon-Tiki is 18. 17 is The Reef in Palm Springs.
Oh, why would you be scared to tell me that?
I don't know. I don't know how you feel about these places. I love The Reef. I think that The Reef that's a 2013 tiki bar. I think that it's
2013.
Yeah. And the reason I call that year out is because it's one of those bars that I feel like it's been open way longer than it has when I go in. I'm like, this was open in like 1990 something, but no.
Yeah.
It was only open in 2013. And I think that it pays a fantastic homage to classic tiki. And the drinks are, I think, really, really well made. And I love that they have the outside patio area. I like that it's part of what's called the Caliente resort right there. Right. So they have the whole
Caliente
thing.
Tropics.
Yeah. Little known fact, by the way, pro tip. If you go to the Reef and you buy a cocktail, you can jump in the pool. That is part of the rules.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you want to wear your bathing suit.
If you want to go in the pool, just buy a cocktail.
Buy a cocktail.
You don't have to stay at the hotel.
Don't have to stay at the hotel.
Oh.
They say, wear your bathing suit.
Well, you know what? I think there's people that don't even do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
They'll still jump in.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's the Reef.
Okay.
16, Pagan Idol, San Francisco.
Okay.
I love that bar.
We haven't even hit top 10 yet.
I know. 15, 3 Dots and a Dash, Chicago.
Okay.
Fantastic. 14, Trader Sam's, Anaheim.
Okay.
13, Forbidden Island, Alameda, California. 12, False Idol, San Diego, California. 11, Lono Tiki, Hollywood, California. 10, Smuggler's Cove. I know a lot of people will be like, what? Number 10?
It's in the top 10.
Yeah. So number 10. 9, and this is where people really get upset. Smuggler's Cove, San Francisco. Number 9, I put Van Tiki. But now that I know more history about Smuggler's Cove, I'm like, oh God, I should probably swap those. That's why I need to update this list.
It's okay.
Number 8, Shameful Tiki Room, Vancouver, Canada. 7, Pacific Seas, in Los
Rod's going to
Angeles.
love that he made it higher than Smuggler's Skull. He's going to love that.
Rod's going to be like, dude, Rod, yeah.
Yeah,
Rod's
Rod.
going to be like, dude, what the hell? I'm not number one. But yeah, I've said to you, I love Shameful Tiki Room. Pacific Seas is 7.
Okay.
Number 6, the Grass Skirt in San Diego. I think that's an incredible tiki
Dude,
experience.
okay, so I have an opinion about that.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about that after you finish your list.
Okay. So that's 6. Number 5, Undertow, Phoenix.
Okay.
Love that bar.
Love that too.
Number 4, Tiki T,
Oh, Tiki T made number 4.
Los Angeles.
Okay.
Number 3, Holly Pele, Portland. Like that bar.
Yeah.
Number 2, the Inferno Room, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
Love that bar. Number 1, and this is again, all the history considered and everything, Tonga Room, San Francisco in the Fairmont Hotel.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
So talk to me. Oh, by the way, I just want to know what we're drinking.
I just made it up.
Oh, okay.
I just made it up.
What did you put in it?
When I make a drink, I use 3 different kinds of formulas.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the golden ratio?
Yeah.
So I use the golden ratio.
Yeah.
You're the first person who said
Oh,
yes
yeah.
to
That's because
that.
I'm a designer.
Oh, you
we
are.
use the same thing in design, yeah.
Oh, okay, so it uses the same ratio.
Yeah.
So the golden ratio is a 2-1-1 ratio.
Mm-hmm.
There's a daiquiri ratio, which is a 4-2-1.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of
Yeah.
strong, 4 of weak. That's
Yeah.
a punch ratio. Those are the
Yeah.
3 ratios that I use whenever I make a cocktail. And basically, it's like, to me, I see it as an algebraic equation. You take X, Y, and Z, and you just plug in all the variables.
Yeah,
And
that's
9 times out of 10, you get a great drink.
Yep.
What I do is I'll plug in the variables, I'll taste it with a straw, and I'll think, is it too bitter? Is it too sweet? Is it too boozy? And I'll try to balance it. And I try to do that with this.
Nice.
I haven't drank it yet.
Okay.
It might be a tad on the sweet side.
I did see you test it, so I was thinking that.
It might be a tad on the sweet side.
Sure.
But the reason why is because when I tasted it the first time, it was a tad on the bitter side. So I thought, let me try to sweeten it up. And then when I tried to sweeten it up, I thought I went a little too much.
Okay.
But we're going to find out.
So what's in the drink?
So
Or do you not want to tell me?
I put Sesame Creek Distillery's white rum,
Wow.
and I put Tanda White Gold in it.
Okay.
And then I also put I put simple syrup, I put honey syrup, I put orange juice, lime juice, and then I floated it with orange flower water, Peychaud's bitters, and Angostura.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
so it's got a little bit of everything, but I tried to do it in such a way that it was. I tried to balance it. So, but I can't guarantee that it is balanced.
Wow.
So, so I hope you like it.
Well, I'm honored
So
already.
good luck.
Yes.
So here we go.
Cheers. Here we
Let's
go.
see. So
Ooh.
there you go.
Yeah.
It is a tad on just a touch on the sweet side.
That's-
I think.
yeah.
I think it needs a little bit more citrus,
Yep.
but
Yeah. That was my thought.
yeah, yours too, right?
Yeah.
See, because it was bitter before I added what did I add? I added Liquid Alchemist strawberries, so that's what you're tasting.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bet if I added maybe a half ounce of orange juice, it'll balance it out.
Okay.
So, but look, I'm a home bartender,
Well, like you said, you're like,
and I've had worse in other bars.
Yeah.
So I'll say that.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you like
Yeah.
it. So there you go. That's my logic behind it. I'm not somebody that just does a little bit of this, a little bit of that, then hit the blender, right? I don't do that. I try to use some of the formulas to make it, and I think what would make it better is more crushed ice. But I got to refill the ice.
Oh,
so I think crushed ice also would balance it out because it'll add some dilution to it.
Yeah.
So it is a little on the sweet side, but
That's good though.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not embarrassed about it.
Well, it has a personality to it, which is
Okay, good.
what I usually look for.
So that's my thought. So anyway,
So you had a specific thought about the grass skirt.
okay. So here's my story about the grass skirt.
Yes.
You know, they take a lot of shit.
Oh,
A lot of the locals don't like the grass skirt.
really? See, I don't know this. Yeah.
Yeah, they say the drinks aren't great. They play hip hop. it draws in the young kind of clubby kind of crowd.
Okay. I've only been there once, so.
Oh, you've only been there once?
Yeah.
I've been there a few
How
times.
dare I put it so high on the list? I've only been there once.
No, I agree with you.
Okay.
So here's what I'm going to say.
Sure.
And my local San Diegans, I'm sorry. Let me start by saying that. The first time I went to the Grass Skirt, I knew what to expect. Now, I'm going to start by saying this. When you go to Applebee's and you order a Mai Tai, and you get something that's not like a Vicks 44 Mai Tai, and you criticize it, and you take pictures of it, and you post it on Facebook, and you say, look what these fuckers gave me at Applebee's. You're the asshole.
Yes.
Because if you're expecting them to make you a 44 Mai Tai,
Yes.
you're the asshole. Adjust your expectations and enjoy it accordingly.
Yes.
Right? When I went to Roatan one time, this is an island off the coast of Honduras. I went there. I used to go there a lot, actually, with my family. Mm-hmm. There was one time I went down there with my wife and my kids, and it was the first day of vacation. The first day of vacation is the best day of vacation because it's just starting. Mm-hmm. We went to this bar on the beach, and I ordered a bucket of Coronas and a couple of cigars. Mm. And we sat down on this table, kind of like a picnic table kind of thing. And there was a cover band sitting on the beach. Behind them was the ocean. The sun was setting. And they started playing Margaritaville. And as a tiki person, I'm supposed to hate Jimmy Buffett. But at that moment, with my beers and my cigars and Margaritaville playing with the sun setting on my first day of vacation, I was in heaven. Yeah. It was absolute heaven. It felt amazing, right? And I thought, I get it. I get it. It's escapism. Yeah. Okay, so adjust your expectations and you'll enjoy yourself. Or you could be an asshole. And I could have scoffed and I could have ruined the first day of my vacation, right? Yeah. But I didn't. I adjusted my expectations.
Changes in latitude, changes in attitude.
There you go. So now let's go back to the Grass Skirt. So one night I go to the Grass Skirt, and this was after a long day. There was a spirits convention on the pier in San Diego. I was there with Tandoai Rum. Mm-hmm. Grass Skirt was new, so we thought let's check it out. You know, what's this place? Yeah. We go in, and they're playing like Tupac Shakur.
Oh no!
And and it was like bumping, right? It was like loud. Yeah. And the place wasn't really that, I mean, there was maybe like 20 people in there.
Wow, okay.
And I was with like one of my Tandoai buddies.
Can I ask when was this?
It was a few years ago. It's probably like 2017, maybe.
Oh, so they really were, really.
Yeah, they were new. They were new. They were probably like less than 6 months old. They were new.
Jeez, okay.
When we drove up, the music was bumping through like the walls.
Oh no!
You could hear it through the walls, and we thought that kind of ironic because it's set up as a speakeasy, which means it's supposed to be hidden.
Yeah.
So you walk in and it's like a dumpling or a sushi or whatever entrance, right?
That's it.
And it's supposed to be a speakeasy,
it's in the
but
refrigerator.
Like if it's bumping, you know that it's there, right? The whole point of a speakeasy is that it's hidden.
You be quiet,
Right. Yeah. Well, so we're like, already off the top of my head, I'm rolling my eyes and I'm thinking like, what's this stupid place? Like, you know, they're doing it wrong. It's supposed to be a speakeasy. Well, we go in. We order drinks, and right off the bat, I'm being a tiki snob. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, oh, look at this drink. Like, what's this supposed to be? Is this supposed to be a Mai Tai or whatever it was that I ordered? I don't remember. Yeah. Why are they playing Tupac? Yeah. Why are they playing Biggie? Mm. And mind you, in the 90s, I was in my 20s. You know, I was not really much of a tiki guy back then. I did like collect tikis and stuff, but there was no tiki scene, so I had yet to acquire the tiki snobbery that I possess today.
Sure.
So they're playing this stuff, and song after song after song, I'm actually like starting to enjoy it because it's nostalgic for me.
Sure, yeah.
It's bringing me back to when, you know, I was in my 20s and the 90s. Yeah. And I turn to the Tandoai guy and I say, I hate to say this, but I'm actually kind of digging this. And he laughed and he's like, I am too. And he smiled.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, I was like, fuck it. I'm enjoying the music and I'm going to have a good time.
Yep.
So we ordered drinks, and of course it was on Tandoi's tab. So we drank and we ate and we listened to this music, and I just had a good time. I adjusted my expectations and I enjoyed myself.
Yep.
I accepted it for what it was.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, what a magical night, right?
Yeah.
So then I never shared that with anybody. Fast forward like a few months.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's
on
right.
The Desert Oasis
Fast forward a
podcast.
few months, I go back, and now they're playing 70s, I think it was disco.
Okay.
There was Blondie and Bee Gees and that stuff.
Yeah.
And the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, what the hell are they playing?
Yeah.
Where are they not playing Martin Denny?
Sure,
Where
yeah.
are they not playing Arthur Lyman? Yeah. What is this?
Yeah.
And after about 2 or 3 songs, and I had a drink in me, I was like bobbing my head.
Yeah,
and I turned to the Tandoi guy and I said, dude, this place has some kind of magic because no matter what they play, I'm actually enjoying it. And he said to me, he's like, you know what? This is actually pretty cool right now. I'm actually really enjoying this myself. And it was the whole nostalgia thing, right? It reminded me, like, brought me back to my youth.
Yeah.
We were having drinks and we were enjoying ourselves, right? Yep. And I thought, man, and I said to him, man, you know what, dude? I said, no matter, whenever we come in this place, it doesn't matter what they're playing. Like, there's some kind of magic about this place. And I kind of dig it. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, the drinks aren't the best. Yep. The music is definitely like not exotica or Hawaiian or tiki or anything like that. But like, you know, if you adjust your expectations, you can enjoy yourself. And that's my thought of the grass skirt. Yeah. Right? So when you put it on your list, what was it at? Number 4?
I think it's at 6.
6.
Yep. Yeah.
So number 6.
Yeah.
So when you said that I was gonna like, oh, you're gonna laugh at me or scoff at me or whatever. When you put that up there, I thought, you know what? I'm with you, man. Yeah. I'm totally with you on that.
Just this idea. I mean, maybe I'll take that and branch it into another discussion, which is, and again, I apologize if this is a severe departure, but something that I thought about talking to you about before coming on the podcast today was this interesting bridge that we have now between, and we have the Maikai that's sort of on the verge of death right now. Yeah. And you look at it, it's such a thing to bridge.
Which I never honestly thought would ever
happen. Yeah. Yeah. And that sort of bridges into what is now the Neo-Tiki vanguard of like these bars that are paying some of them are paying homage to like, oh, this is what like the Tiki world used to be. Yeah. And some of them are like, well, this is what the Tiki world can be, you know, and twisting these classic recipes. And so it's interesting to look at like a place like the Grass Skirt. So when I discovered the Grass Skirt when I went to Tiki Oasis 2019. So it's pretty recent for me compared to where you first saw it. And so going there more recently than when you've been there, it was one of those things where comparing it to the rubric of what my old friend Jess and I used to do, I used to compare it to, I used to say, so, not to make a long story longer, but it's like the pyramid was, we would say, okay, well, you judge the tiki bar in a descending order of importance. And so you say that the number one thing that you should judge a tiki bar on is the quality of its cocktails. And so we say like, okay, that's
interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I was saying like, therefore it should be rated first and foremost on that. But if the next level down is like above and beyond, then it can help out.
So I'm going to interrupt you again. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't judge a tiki bar experience by its cocktails. I judge it by the overall experience. Because the experience can make up for the cocktails. Yep. Right? Yep. So
that's why I have Tonga Room on the top.
Okay. All right.
Because you don't get the best cocktails at Tonga Room, you know?
Yeah, no, you don't. Not at all.
Our last category we called spirit, and that was, we said, okay, this is the net effect of everything, and that can bring everything up. Right. And the thing is that, and we also had something that we called bonus category. Yeah. And bonus category was something that we considered something to be like a throwback to it's both a throwback to the old tiki bars and the new tiki bars where you order a certain drink, there's a presentation involved with the drink.
Okay.
And or things like you were talking about, which is like what's the music they're playing,
right.
What is the ambiance of the place. And so with Grass Skirt, I think the thing that blew me away was I went in, like we talked about earlier, we got to sit at the bar. They have all sorts of bizarre stuff at the bar, such as like there's a fire that's at the bar that has like a video projection that's going on, and all sorts of stuff. But right away we were like, oh my God, there is, you order certain drinks and like bells and whistles go off. There's like steam things that shoot out from the ceilings. The bar lights up with fake fire and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, there's old tiki temples that have this, like the Tiki Tea, which you have, you know, the Toro bull that comes across.
Right.
You have Ooga Booga that happens.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is extremely specific, but, you know, the bell. And so you have things like that are specific to that bar.
Right.
And you go to places, you know, like Trader Sam's, Anaheim, even though that's part of the Disney franchise.
Right. They
have certain drinks that are involved. There's like, oh, you ordered.
So I'll say this. So the guys who were part of the design of Trader Sam's, used to be regulars at the Tiki Tea.
Oh,
so the drinks where they do the whole chanting, and what was it, the shipwreck or whatever it was.
Krakatoa.
And the Krakatoa.
We're not gonna make it.
Those guys that were regulars of the Tiki Tea brought that to Trader Sam's.
Yes.
So if you follow the lineage, it started from those guys sitting at the Tiki Tea and hearing the Toro and hearing the Ooga Booga. Yeah. And when they were hired to help design that bar, they thought we should bring this into this bar as well. Yep. And so that's where that comes from. Yeah.
Exactly. That and that's the thing, is like whenever I go to any bar that has any kind of drink specific event, I have to assume that they're tying that back to the original mid-century lineage of bars that used to do that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I don't know what other drinks are out there that used to do that, but the Tiki Tea, they still carry that.
Yeah.
Right.
The Inferno Room of Indianapolis, this is why it's so high on my list, is...
because of that experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a very personal thing to bring up, but I was doing a East Coast to West Coast tour at that moment. I was visiting as many tiki bars as I could from New York City to Los Angeles.
Very nice.
And my brother, who's also a big tiki guy, he, thank God, called me the day before I started that tour.
Yeah.
And he said, you have to go to the Inferno Room.
Yeah.
He's like, they're not even open yet.
Wow.
When he called. And
it was new.
It was new. So new that they weren't open.
They weren't open.
They weren't even
open.
How
did he know about it then?
I don't know how my brother found out about it.
Because, if they weren't open yet,
they were still on that soft open list. You know what I mean? Mm. And shout out to my brother. I don't know how he found out about it, but this was hilarious. And, I apologize to, if the Inferno Room ever listens to this. I don't remember the names of the people that actually own that bar.
Okay.
But I started my drive in New Jersey.
Okay.
And right from day one, I started calling the Inferno Room constantly and saying, like, hey, I really, really want to come in. I know that you guys are in soft open. Please let me in.
Yeah.
I really want to take a look at your bar.
Yeah.
And it all led up to the day that I was checked into my hotel in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And I called them again. And they picked up the phone.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, they said, this is like the fourth time that we've gotten the call from this number. Like, are you a journalist?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, listen, I'm a tiki enthusiast. I look into these kinds of things. Like, would you please let me, let me in? And they were like, yeah, sure. Like, come on. If you come on down tonight, we'll let you in. And God bless those guys. They did a thing very specifically for me that was, very, very kind of them, where I came in very late at night. I went into town early to go to a whiskey bar that's very old school in town. And then circa 11 p.m., I went to the Inferno Room. And holy cow, like anybody who's listening to this now that might have been to the Inferno Room now, you know that it is as much as...
I haven't even been there.
Yeah, well, when you go, you'll see that it's as much as a tiki bar as it is as a Papua New Guinea artwork museum.
Okay.
And the owner...
I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, clearly because of your, custom.
Well, yeah, Papua New Guinea to me is like, it's what really feels authentic because it's so tribal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the Trader Vic's that was up in Palo Alto was opened by a guy who basically just wanted to showcase his Papua New Guinea collection.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So the owners, it's two people who own that bar, and one of them, at least, is a big Papua New Guinea artwork collector, and they're a huge fan of Stephen Crane, who's from. That's the whole point of the bar. Is Stephen Crane is from Indianapolis.
From Indianapolis, okay.
And so this, this guy that's been like such a part of tiki history.
Wow.
And so when I went in, it was a little bit like going to Three Dots and a Dash, where they have like the wall of skulls and everything.
Yeah.
And the bar, that's one of their things at the Inferno Room. They have the bar that's the big pyramid of skulls.
Right.
But every single thing in all the way down to, they were pointing, this was like very, in the special tour that I got, they pointed out, they were like, listen, everything, including the banister, like the railing that goes up to the second floor, is made out of specific bamboo that they had collected. Wow. They had to get cleared through the fire marshal and all this stuff.
Dude, I gotta see it now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful bar. And that's another bar where they said, they're like, yeah, we've connected certain cocktails to the ambiance of the room.
Yeah.
So you order this cocktail, the room changes. Like they have a big tiki mask.
See, that sounds super interesting.
Yeah. They have a huge foyer when you walk in.
Yeah.
Where there's the mask that like they use as like the logo of the place.
Yeah.
And it shoots steam out of its eyes and everything when you order the certain drink and whatnot. And then on the second floor, they have a private room called the Stephen Crane Room, and it's dedicated specifically to the history of Stephen Crane. So.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really, really great. And that was one of those bars. So again, not to go on a micro tangent here, but when I did a tiki tour in 2016, and that was when I discovered Hale Pele in Portland.
Okay.
And I remember going there for the first time and being like, oh my God, I did not expect this bar to be this good.
Yeah.
And
I went there for the first time when it was still Thatch.
Wow.
Well, so that was before it was Hale Pele. So what's interesting was that it was Thatch for a while, and then when it was changing over to Hale Pele, so I went to Trader Vic's in Portland afterwards. I was up there on business. We had an office up in Beaverton.
What year was this? Jeez.
Oh, it was a long time ago. We had an office up in Beaverton, which is a suburb of Portland.
Sure.
And when I was up there on business, I thought, I'm going to check out all the tiki bars. Thatch was one of them. I happened to actually be at Thatch on their very last night of operations.
Wow.
And
so what is Thatch? Like it was...
Thatch is Hale Pele.
What was the vibe of that bar?
It was tiki.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty nice. It was pretty good. I mean, Hale Pele doesn't look much different.
Okay.
So went to Thatch, drank, for a few hours. It was the last night, and people tried to take things, and the owner got pissed off. I remember the owner stopped some people, and then he turned the music off, and he turned to the patrons there, and he said, "Everybody, listen to me. Even though it's our last night, that doesn't mean that you can steal whatever you want. These people just tried to steal." He actually called them out.
Yeah.
And they tried to play it off and start laughing and stuff. Yeah. But, they were drunk and all that. And he's like, not cool.
Yeah.
He's like, please don't steal from us.
Yeah, yeah.
Then he turned the music back on. And afterwards, I went to Trader Vic's, which was still around.
Wow.
And Blair Reynolds, who owns...
B.G.
Reynolds Syrups was there, and I know Blair.
Yeah.
And I said, hey.
Co-owner of Hale Pele now.
I said, hey. And he was like, hey, what are you doing up here? And I said, I'm up here on business. And, I just came from Thatch and da-da-da. And, I said, I'm bummed that it's closing down. And I said, it's such a loss to Portland Tiki. And he said, well, it's not really closing down. He said, it might close down for a little bit, but it's going to reopen as Hale Pele. And he gave me the scoop that night. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he sent me off with a bunch of syrups, and it's kind of cool. And then Trader Vic's ended up closing down a month later, which was a bummer. Yeah. But it was interesting because then I came back for Kontiki, or TikiCon. Mm-hmm. I get those backwards. Yep. I came back for TikiCon and went to Hale Pele, and I thought, oh yeah, this was Thatch. Yep. Yeah. And now it was different. Cocktails were better. Yep. The decor was a little bit better. Yeah. Martin Kate was part of the whole deal. Yep. He always makes everything better. Of course. So so it was kind of interesting, and it's funny that people forget that it was something else before.
You know what, Adrian? This is why it's so exciting talking to you. Because of course I was like, I didn't even put that together. I'm like, of course you knew Reynolds. Of course you knew him.
Yeah, before. Yeah. It was because I was walking into Trader Vic's as he was walking out, and so we bumped into each other on the sidewalk, and he was like, "Oh hey, what are you doing here?" I didn't tell people I was up there. I was there on business, and I said, "Oh, I'm in town for business," and blah blah blah. Yeah. He told me that story. And then I said, hey, I want to run in before they close because Trader Vic's was going to close in like 20 minutes. I said, I want to run in and get a drink because I was on the company credit card. So it was whenever I traveled, like I could expense it. And I was like, look, I don't want to let me go in and get a drink, get a mug and all that stuff. The company's paying for it. Yeah. And he told me that story on the sidewalk. And then he said, hey, before you go, let me get you some syrups. And I said, sure. And his car was right on the sidewalk. Yeah. And he gave me a couple of syrups. Yeah. Wow. And so I got to take some syrups home, went inside, had a drink. It was neat. I didn't expect that was going to be my last visit to Trader Vic's. Yeah. Which is ironic that I posted on my Instagram the other day, my last visit to the Maikai was the last Hukilau. Yep. And my post was that, here are pictures from my last visit to the Maikai. I hope it wasn't my last visit to the Maikai. Exactly, yeah. Because that would be devastating. Yeah. But
it's so awesome. I'm like I'm full geek out mode now because.
Are you?
Well, just because it was, I'm. This is me speaking as somebody who I can only self-identify as somebody from the Neo-Tiki era. Gotcha. And by that I mean like anybody who got into the real Tiki world. I consider myself getting into the real Tiki world in 2008. And
gotcha.
And again, I'm not going to talk about this on the podcast because of time restrictions. But my whole family is they're all rum enthusiasts. That's why I'm at a Tiki in the first place. But like I don't really consider myself like a Tiki fan until circa 2008, 2009.
Okay.
And it was circa like 2000. It wasn't until 2015 that I realized this whole connection between like Martin Kate and the Reynolds.
Oh,
and
okay.
That was when, again, that's what I was just talking about before we went on this whole side tangent of like when I went to Hale Pele for the very first time.
Yeah.
And so something that I like to do.
Yeah.
Anytime, and I'm sure alcohol has something to do with it. but anytime that I go to especially if I go to a new tiki bar, if it, in my opinion, is clearly a place that has been built out of an extreme understanding of the tiki culture, I demand to talk to the owner. Yeah, and usually that works out.
Yeah, you want to know, like, are you a tiki guy? Yeah, how did you open this? Like, what brought you here?
Honestly, for my sake, stuff, it's just because I want to tell them that they are geniuses. Yeah, and
well, this subculture, because what it is a subculture. Is since it's not on everybody's radar, it does interest me. When people find it. Yeah. Especially people that want to open a business doing this. Like it's...
Well, look at Rod Moore. He's the guy who went to Tiki Oasis and then after his experience was like, oh, I think this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah. There's a lot of that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
But so in that Tiki tour that in 2016, right? So it was a situation where... it was my friend Jessica Flora, who, when I was on the way down, I had fully planned that trip out before I did it.
Okay.
But the reason I was stopping in Portland was for Alibi. And I was,
yeah.
And I was like, well, Alibi is like such a contributor to the history of cocktail culture, not only tiki culture. So of course I'm going to stop there.
Yeah.
And literally while I was in the car driving down, Jessica messages me and she goes, hey, by the way, there's a place called Hale Pele.
Yeah.
She's like, I haven't been, but it's new and you should go.
Yeah.
And so, and I had friends in every one of these cities. So I had brought another friend of mine with me and I was like, let's go to Alibi. And then after Alibi, and this is sort of a sidebar, but I was like, bummer. Like, Alibi is a great tribute to tiki history, but the cocktails are terrible.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah, they suck. And so and then it was already late that night, and I said, well, we should go to Hale Pele before they close.
Yeah.
And so we go to Hale Pele, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh no, this place is great. And then when I had one of the cocktails, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
This place is way better.
Yeah.
So what I had done is that I had adjusted my return schedule. And I said, okay, well, on the way back, I'm going to go to Hale Pele a second time because this might be a top 10 contender.
Yeah.
And so on the way back, that was when, and I forget the name of the bartender at the time, but I told him, I was like, I'll be back.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I said, hey, listen, is the manager here?
Yeah.
And I talked to every manager all the way down that tour. And they were like, no, they're not here. And I was like, okay, well, can I talk to you at least about... They were like, yeah. I said, who created this bar? They're like, oh, this is like the love child of Martin Kate and Reynolds.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, well, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Like, well, that makes sense why they have an entire wall of Reynolds syrups across the wall. And I'm like, and of course I love the Kates because of Smuggler's Cove. And so they were like, oh yeah, we're about to, at that time, they're like, we're about to get this list going of like 50 tiki cocktails you can go through and whatever they call it, the volcano list or whatnot. And I was like, well, okay, well that...
I tell you, man, like Martin he's been such a supporter of the podcast and I've known him for so long. He's a good friend.
Yeah. So. I saw a photo of you and him the other day. I was like, that's so
that's
cool.
Funny. Yeah. I've known him for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
He's such a supporter of the podcast. So I want to shout out Martin Kate and all the bars that he's involved with. He does such a good job.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really hope to go to Whitechapel. So I haven't been to Whitechapel yet for the gin bar.
You've been to False, right? False Idol?
Yeah. I went there for
another one of his.
Yeah. I went there in 2019 for my first time. Yeah. Really, really good.
Very cool.
Oh, man.
Well, this podcast did not come out the way that we had planned. So for our listeners out there, typically we try to put bullet points together and make notes and say, okay, let's talk about this, let's talk about that.
We hit most of them for the
Did
most
we really?
part. Yeah, because we talked about your bar that you're going to open. Yeah.
It's not what I expected, but hey, I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you.
So for our listeners out there, if they want to find you online, where can we send them?
Well, just go to YouTube and you can look up, it's called Cocktail Fridays. My last name is Badgerow, like the animal badger. And you can look up, I was just telling somebody, if you really want to look me up, just type in Cocktail Fridays Badgerow. And that's a very fast way to find me on YouTube. I'm producing bi-weekly at this moment, cocktail, video podcast basically, about how to make your favorite classic tiki recipes.
And for all our listeners out there, I'm going to put a link in the description below of our friend David's YouTube channel, so you can check out some of his cocktail videos.
Thank you.
So thanks again for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for making this great cocktail.
Yeah, I appreciate you driving all the way out here from Burbank. And we are going to record actually another video right now. I'm like actually kind of buzzing right now because of all the stuff that we made so far. Yeah. But we are going to record a video right now for David's YouTube channel. So check out the description below for that link, and we're going to put that down there. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Adrian.
All right. Cheers and aloha, people. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.